Welcome to another edition of Survival Stuff with Indiana Jim. Sponsored by Live Free USA at AmericanSurvivor.org. I am James C. Jones. I live in Indiana, but Indiana Jones was taken, so I'm Indiana Jim. I've been at this for a long time, been doing this for over 50 years at this point. As far as teaching survival, advocating for self-preparedness and self-reliance, as well as outdoor survival and urban survival and all the aspects of survival. I was a founder of Live Free USA. I'm proud to say that the organization has been around for over 50 years at this point. It is America's oldest and most respected survival organization, established back in 1968. Actually, we were doing this stuff before we formed the organization, but it was formed to promote and educate for survival and family preparedness. We are a non-for-profit, tax-deductible organization. We are supported by our membership and by contributions only. So we'd love for you to join. We'd love for you to make a contribution. But regardless, we are a public service organization. None of us get paid. Nobody makes money at this. We are, like I said, we're a tax-deductible, not-for-profit organization. Today, we're going to talk about personal hazard analysis. We hear a lot about preparing for doomsday and all that kind of stuff out there in the survival world, as you have it. But really, preparedness and survival is a very personal thing. We all have different things to survive. Sometimes we have to survive our own bad judgment, our own bad habits, our own situations, in addition to surviving what's going on in the world that's coming in at us. So, personal survival analysis is something that I've kind of developed from my personal job that I had. I was a safety manager for a Fortune 200 corporation for many, many, many years. I won a lot of awards. I learned a lot about safety. While I was in the safety management field, it was developing from just worrying about a guard on a machine or disciplining some guy for not obeying the rules to a scientific approach to behavior, human behavior, and to anticipating the kinds of things that would happen before they happen instead of, it wasn't about, well, this happened, let's make sure that doesn't happen again, to this might happen, let's make sure it never happens. So we moved forward, and I took these procedures and I've applied them to survival. It's sort of funny, I wound up being a safety manager. My safety management, my survival skills, and my survival mindset just drew me right into that profession. And then things from that profession then carried over back into survival, into my articles that I've written, into my books that I've written. I've written 3 books, and you'll find some of this stuff in these books. Find all this stuff actually in these books. Total Survival and 150 Survival Secrets. Advanced Survival, which I don't have a copy of sitting here right now. And then more recently, when I talk about gear, the Ultimate Book of Survival Gear, this is all available from Amazon. It's available from Skyhorse Publishing, which is my publisher. I make a little bit of money off this, not a lot. I'm not in this for money. I'm in this to help people learn to survive and prepare for the kind of things that are happening to us today. So, personal hazard analysis. Like I said, I did this for over 40 years. We developed methodologies to aggressively react to near misses. Those things that we say, wow, I almost caught my hand in the machine, or in this case, this pandemic was a near miss. I'm sorry to say it. We should have been ready for it. SARS. We had SARS, we had bird flu, we had pig flu, or swine flu, if you will. Those were real near misses. In safety science, the theory was that for every fatality, there were 30 near misses and 300 incidents, okay, where nobody got hurt. And 300 near misses, 30 people where people got hurt slightly, and 1 fatality. So in this particular case, we had the swine flu, the bird flu, the SARS, and a couple of others actually. Those were what you consider to be injurious incidents. Then we had one fatality, kind of, which was COVID-19 and its variants. Unfortunately, we have to regard that that's still a near miss compared to what it could have been. So I've just written an article recently called This Was a Drill. COVID-19 was a drill for a real pandemic, which is inevitable, statistically inevitable that we will have a very high fatality pandemic in most of your lifetimes, okay? So we have to be ready for that. But anyhow, today we're going to talk about personal hazard analysis. So we had a number of different ways to approach to find out what was going to happen, to deal with analysis of our personal risks and risk at the plant. The three methods that we had were that first of all, we had to do what the hazard analysis itself, look at all the possibilities of hazards, okay? Then we had near-miss analysis, and we had what-if analysis. And through those processes, we could eliminate the actual incident or happen to the incident before it happened to us. We need to do that. You need to do that for yourself. So thing is, we're trying to avoid doomsday. We're trying to avoid doomsday for you. Now, doomsday for you could be the day that there's a nuclear war. Of course, you know, you're downtown Chicago and boom, you know, it's doomsday, okay? It could be the day a truly deadly pandemic pathogen infects you. It could be the day that you're caught in the crossfire from a gang shooting on the streets of Chicago or on the streets of whatever town you live in. It could also be the day that you get caught, you die in an auto accident because you're not paying attention or you're texting while you're driving. Doomsday could be the day your house catches fire because you didn't fix that bad wiring or you left the gasoline can inside the house. It can be the day you die of carbon monoxide poisoning because you didn't put batteries in your carbon monoxide detector. Doomsday can be the day you die of a heart attack or bleed to death because you didn't teach your family first aid. Okay? It could be any of those days, okay? It can be the day you got cancer because you never stopped smoking. Personal survival and hazard analysis, okay? Or you could be the day that the tornado when you don't have a shelter plan. So any of those kind of things can be doomsday for you, okay? Doomsday is really a personal event that you may not always be able to prevent, but you can anticipate it. Anticipation is the first rule of survival, and you can prepare for it, and you can either avoid it. Once you anticipate it, you recognize it, you can avoid it, or you can prepare to survive it. So you can use these same methods. So hazard analysis was the first thing we did. And we'd spend weeks at a plant like DuPont and Sherwin-Williams or, you know, some other chemical plant. We'd go around the country and we'd go over every single detail of every single little thing they did and how they did it. And we'd look around and we'd look for hazards. Now don't think that, oh, my house is safe, my lifestyle is safe. We would go to these places and we'd see things that were just totally obvious to us. You know why they were obvious to us? Because we were looking for them. You know, my mother used to tell me, don't go looking for trouble. That was my job, okay? My job is to look for trouble. It's your job too. Look for trouble before trouble finds you. Find it and eliminate it, okay? With extreme prejudice. Yes. So hazard analysis was the first thing we would do, and you need to do that in your lifestyle. What are the hazards? Am I hanging around places that maybe isn't the safest places? Am I safe in my job? Am I safe when I drive? Personally, I believe driving is a full-time job, okay? I'm silly me. But yes, driving is a full-time job. That's all I'm doing. By the way, I drive a police car once a week, so that's kind of interesting. But, you know, maybe even more careful there. But yes, I tell my wife, don't even talk to me. I'm in traffic here. I'm focusing totally on this traffic. That's defensive driving. I'm certainly not going to text. I'm certainly not going to talk on the phone. Sometimes I might have the radio on, but usually just to the news. I don't get carried away because this is not a time to relax. This is driving. There's people trying to kill each other on these roads. Okay, that's me. That should be you. But the three methods, the first one is hazard analysis. The second one's what-if analysis, and the next one's near-miss analysis. Hazard analysis is simply going around and looking for things that could happen. That torn piece of carpet, that worn wire. Where are you storing all this junk that's piling up that could start a fire? Checking that smoke detector, that carbon monoxide detector. Where's your fire extinguisher? Where is it positioned? Is it positioned near the door so you don't have to try to go in and get it and then get yourself trapped by the fire? All those kind of things. How is this going to work in an emergency? Do I have this stuff in my drawer, my bedside drawer that I might need if it's an intruder in the middle of the night or there's a fire in the middle of the night? All those kind of things. Is my house safe? Especially if you have children. I have guns laying around. I have, ammunition. If you have a gun and you think it's hidden, believe me, the kids will find it. So you've got to have it locked up. You've got to have it locked up, and you've got to have the key in your possession at all times. So basically, the process is making a list of every possible situation that could happen to you, including. I'm an older guy, could I have a heart attack? Maybe I need to have aspirin handy. Maybe I need to go get a checkup. Whatever you need to do to reduce that hazard. It's hazard reduction. You can't necessarily eliminate everything. So what are the possibilities? Am I going to illness? Can I do more things about my health? My job. Am I in danger of losing my job? Maybe I need to look at alternate employment, backup plans. Maybe I need to put some extra money away. Crime in your neighborhood. What kind of things can you do to avoid crime? Maybe you need to move. I live in Indiana. I see a lot of people from Illinois coming over here lately from Chicago. Why? We're not as nice to criminals in Indiana as they are in Chicago. And so the criminals stay away. The nice people come over here. Some of these are universal. You prepare for nuclear war, pandemics, all those other things. But there are a lot of other personal hazards, like car accidents, things in your community, like get involved in your community to make your community safer, become part of the crime watch programs and other things like that. We have created a number of tools over the years for this kind of thing. We have a home safety checklist. I'll hold that up a little bit. Home safety checklist, which we have on our website. We publish periodically in our newsletter. It's just a list of going through your home. Take something like this, go through your home and look for all these hazards. You find them, you act on them instead of I'll get to that next week. I'll get to that next month. It's okay. I just got to be careful. That's exactly the kind of things, I'd see it at work. If somebody gets hurt and the machine wasn't fixed right or something, somebody standing behind me and they said, I knew that was going to happen. Well, if you knew it was going to happen, why didn't you fix it? Well, I didn't have time today. I actually encountered a guy one time. We had everybody inspect their forklifts. And I went up to him and I looked at his forklift sheet and he said, see, I inspected my forklift. And I said, it says here the brakes don't work. He says, oh yeah, they don't work, but I need this forklift. Well, go get another forklift. We'll rent a forklift. You don't need that forklift. People do crazy things, and maybe when you're not thinking, you're focused on getting something done, or you want something more pleasant. You put off fixing those hazardous situations in your house. So that's part of it, hazard analysis, and you can rate these things, rate these hazards on probability. From unlikely, be 1 to inevitable, 10, which I just mentioned. I just mentioned the pandemic is being inevitable, but you look at that rug that's torn on your living room or whatever, it's inevitable you're going to trip on it sooner or later, or that light that's out, it's inevitable something's going to happen. So it could be probability and severity, okay? Unlikely, 1, inevitable, 10. Severity, more minor damage or minor injury. I could get my finger on that, or I get a little cut on it or whatever. Okay, that's minor, that's a 1. Okay, total destruction, my house could burn down. I could get killed, or I could kill somebody else because the gun is laying out here loaded or whatever. That's a 10. So you add up how likely it is and how bad it would be if it did happen, and you give that the rating. And if it's got a rating above 5, 6, 7, 8, on the combination of severity and probability, you really need to get on that right away. You know, you can put away the little ones that are going to be less severe and highly unlikely. You can worry about those a little later, although they can still happen. But go through your analyze all your hazards, rate them in relation to severity and probability, and then deal with them in order of priority. Set it up priority and set a plan to be prepared or avoid or prevent those things, bad things from happening, whether they're a national disaster or a home accident, okay? And then we would do what-if analysis. What-if analysis was a technique which was obviously, as it indicates, what-ifing everything, okay? What if that valve sticks? Uh-oh. Well, then we'd say, well, what if the valve sticks? Well, then Charlie comes in, he knows that well, where's Charlie? He's on vacation. Okay, what-if analysis, okay? You got to plan it at home. Mom's going to do this, Dad's going to do this, the kids are going to do this. What if Mom's out shopping and Dad's at work and the kid's at school? Nobody's home, okay? You're not together, okay? You got to make a plan. What if under the worst scenario? Okay, what if there's an intruder in the house and the kid is still out at school or whatever, and so you don't know if it's an intruder or the kid came home late, okay? You got to have a plan. You got to have a plan. What if there's a fire? Where's it? Well, what if the fire's in the basement? What if the fire's upstairs? What if the fire's in the kitchen? What if it's during the day? What if it's at night when we're asleep? You got to have a plan, okay? You got to have a plan, this, and then you could, what if the plan, you know? What if plan A doesn't work? Then you got to have a plan B. What if, the kids are supposed to all gather in this one room if there's an intruder, but what if the intruder's between you and the kids' room? What if? What are you going to do? What if we have to evacuate? Okay, what if we can't go the way we think we want to go? What if we have to go a different way? What if we can't get our survival packs or our evacuation packs? What if we can't get to them? Do we have some other place where we can store some stuff that we need to grab? What if analysis. So we've got hazard analysis, which is recognition, more or less. We got what if analysis, which is looking at scenarios that can happen. You should what if your normal life. What if you lose your job? What if you get sick? What if there's a home invasion? What if everything you depend on, your water, what if there's no water? What if there's no police? What if there's no EMS system? What if there's no fire department services? What if you lose your house? And look at the impact of that and figure out what you're going to do in that situation, okay? So, sure, you have to what if your plans as well. Now, the last technique we used was what we call near-miss analysis. And near-miss analysis is, again, what it indicates is you analyze a near-miss. So you had an almost accident. For instance, I'm driving and I get to a corner and I almost get into an accident. And I'm like, well, yeah, I think it was that idiot's fault that didn't went through the stop sign, but maybe I didn't look over there as far as I should and realize that he wasn't slowing down. I criticize myself, okay? I'm constantly criticizing myself about near misses, anything that's a near miss. Well, I almost tripped on those stairs. Okay, maybe I need to get better lighting on those stairs. What if, I know one time I put a gas can outside the house, but for some reason, because of the changes in temperature, it actually siphoned a little gasoline out of the can and started running down the stairs. I happened to come in the basement. This was not in the house I live in now. And it was running, gasoline was slowly running toward the furnace. Yeah. I wouldn't have thought that in a million years, but now I know that. Okay, so that's this is a near-miss analysis. I learned not to put gasoline anywhere near the house, any kind of flammables anywhere near the house. They're stored in steel containers way out in the yard, okay? Because there's just things that you couldn't even imagine could happen, but it can't happen if it's not anywhere near the house, okay? So, again, near-miss analysis. Any near misses you've had recently, don't go, we're doing that now with the COVID. You survived COVID? No, that's not what you need to do. You need to go like, wait a minute. This was a near miss. If there's another one comes along, I need to do better. I need to have better equipment. I need to have better respirators. I need to be able to stay home without having to go out. No, I had to go out to get toilet paper. Or I had to go out to get this. I had to go out to do this when I should have been able to just stay home and stay away from people. Have that backup plan, because this was an opportunity. Near misses are not luck, they're an opportunity. So you've had lots of near misses in life, I'm sure. You know, you caught the kid with the gun. You know, he's picking up your gun, or he's even looking at it, okay? That's a near miss. That's an opportunity to see, you don't take the gun, oh, wow, I'm glad he didn't get a hold of it. No, you got to go a lot further than that. Any of those things, all these, you see it in the news, the near miss. We nearly had a war. There was nearly a nuclear war here. There's, nearly something else with a terrorist attack. You were 2 minutes late before the shootout started at the bank. So, no. Wait a minute, I need to approach the bank differently. Like when I was working with the police, they taught me about never to walk straight up to a door to a store or anything. Always walk in by the side and look around see what's going on in the store, especially the mini marts, the bodegas and stuff. You don't walk straight up there because you're going to walk straight into that crime. And, they see you coming and you don't really realize what's going on. So, all these kind of things, near-miss analysis. So we have hazard analysis, what-if analysis, and near-miss analysis. Do these for yourself. Now again, as I said, Live Free has developed some tools. We have a citizen's guide to family and emergency preparedness, which we're glad to send you. By the way, Live Free will also, if you have a Live Free chapter, or any kind of organization for that matter, for a small contribution, whatever you decide to send, we'd be glad to send you quantities of these checklists and these guides to use at your meetings. And I think all organizations out there now should be having a preparedness subcommittee or the Live Free chapter within their group or some kind of organization to help their families prepare. We have this emergency preparedness score sheet, which we also publish once in a while. It's a really great way to give yourself a grade. You answer all the questions, and at the end of it, you get a grade from 0 to 100 based on how prepared you really are. Okay, from being totally unprepared to being totally self-reliant, like you could, live out in the woods forever and, never contact anybody, which is almost impossible to do. And then finally, more recently, we came up with this preparedness checklist, which, by the way, I'm going to, in a future edition, I'm going to go over these items one by one for you, and so that we can look at each item that you can have to be a totally prepared American preparedness checklist. But we're glad to send this to you. We're also going to publish it in the next issue of American Survivor Newsletter, the Live Free official publication, and it'll also be on our website at americansurvivor.org. So, this isn't over. This is just the beginning. This was a warning. This was a drill that we've gone through in the last couple years. We should realize where we're at. We should realize how fragile our society is. We believe that preparedness and self-reliance and prepared families are the foundation of a free society. One of our mantras is emergency preparedness is the duty of every responsible citizen. So one of our slogans is being responsible. One of our key elements in Live Free is responsible preparedness. So, no time for complacency. Anticipate, organize, and prepare. Until next time, this is Indiana Jim for Life and Freedom. Stay safe out there.